Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What If. So in this video, we will see what if Ben and Albedo swapped bodies permanently. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Swap Shock. The hot summer air rushed past Ben Tennyson's face as he sprinted across the rooftops of downtown Bellwood. 3 steps ahead, a white-haired figure in a red jacket leaped across an alleyway to the next building. "Give it up, Albedo!" Ben shouted, slamming his palm down on the Omnitrix. Green light flashed across his body as his muscles expanded, skin hardening into crystalline structures. "You're not getting away this time." Diamondhead's crystalline feet pounded across the concrete rooftop. Ahead, Albedo glanced back, red eyes narrowing as he clutched a metal device to his chest. "You're always chasing, Ben Tennyson," Albedo called back, vaulting over a ventilation unit. "Never quite catching up, are you?" Ben fired crystal shards that pinged off the metal unit just as Albedo ducked behind it. "I don't need to catch up. I just need you to run out of roof." He pointed ahead where the building ended at a 30-foot drop to the street below. Albedo skidded to a halt at the edge, spinning to face Ben. His white hair ruffled in the breeze as he held up the metallic device, roughly the size of a toaster with blinking lights and an antenna array sprouting from its top. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Albedo smirked, fingers caressing the device's surface. "Asmatha's latest prototype. The fool actually believed his lab security could keep me out." Ben advanced slowly, crystal hands outstretched. "Whatever you stole, it's going back. Along with you, straight to a plumber holding cell." "This?" Albedo raised the device. "This is my ticket to ending our little game. I call it the Omnitrix Extractor. One blast, and your precious watch transfers directly to me, the only being truly worthy of wielding it." Yeah, heard it before," Ben rolled his eyes, forming his arm into a crystalline blade. "Let's skip to the part where I knock you out and go get smoothies." Ben lunged forward, but Albedo was ready. He ducked under the crystal blade and slammed his foot into Ben's knee. As Ben stumbled, Albedo twisted away and pointed the device directly at the Omnitrix symbol on Ben's chest. "Say goodbye to your hero career, Tennyson." The device hummed to life, lights pulsing from green to red. A beam of energy shot toward Ben's chest, but at the last second, Ben threw up a crystal shield. The beam refracted, splitting into dozens of smaller beams that bounced around the rooftop like laser light in a hall of mirrors. "No! You fool!" Albedo screamed as several beams struck him simultaneously. Others hit Ben, coursing across his body and the Omnitrix. The device in Albedo's hand sparked violently, smoke pouring from its housing. Both teens screamed as energy enveloped them. Ben felt the Omnitrix burning against his chest, then an impossible sensation, like his consciousness was being yanked out of his body through a straw. The world spun, colors blurred, and then darkness. Ben's eyes fluttered open to blinding white lights. His head throbbed like the time Kevin had used him as a bowling ball against the Forever Knights. Something was wrong with his vision, everything looked sharper, more defined, like someone had cranked up the resolution on a TV. "The prisoner's awake," a voice announced. Ben tried to sit up, only to discover his wrists and ankles were secured to a metal table. "What the words caught in his throat. That wasn't his voice. It sounded like Albedo of the Galvan, a stern-faced plumber stepped into view, his armor bearing lieutenant insignia. "You've really done it this time. Theft of restricted first-thinker technology, assault on a plumber deputy, and attempted destruction of the Omnitrix." "What?" "No, I'm Ben. Ben Tennyson." Ben struggled against the restraints. "There's been some kind of mix-up." The plumber officers in the room exchanged looks before the lieutenant leaned closer. "Drop the act. Magister Tennyson is already processing the real Ben. He confirmed your identity himself. Grandpa Max saw me. No, wait, he saw Albedo. You don't understand, we've been switched. Ben's mind raced, trying to process what had happened. He looked down at his body, a red jacket, black shirt, and most alarmingly, pale hands that weren't his own. One of the plumbers snorted. This again. Your impersonation routine is getting old, pal. Check my DNA. Scan me. Do something. Ben shouted, panic rising. He twisted his head, trying to see his reflection in anything metallic. In the polished surface of a nearby monitor, he caught a glimpse of white hair and red eyes. The lieutenant stepped back. Save it for the magistrate. You'll be transferred to the plumber detention facility on Galvin Prime within the hour. First Thinker Azimuth has specifically requested to oversee your case. No. You have to listen to me. Ben strained against his bonds. I'm not Albedo. That device he stole, it must have switched our minds. Call Gwen or Kevin. They'll know. The plumbers ignored him, moving to a console across the room. Ben closed his eyes, forcing himself to think. He needed to escape, to find his body, to find Albedo who was currently walking around as him. With his Omnitrix. With his life. The realization hit like a truck. Albedo had done it. Not in the way he'd planned, but he'd effectively stolen the Omnitrix by stealing Ben's entire identity. And no one would believe Ben now that he was trapped in the body of a known criminal. I need to focus, Ben muttered to himself, surprised again by Albedo's voice coming from his mouth. He examined the restraints more carefully. They were standard plumber cuffs, designed to adjust to different alien physiologies. But there was something different about how his mind was processing the information. Details jumped out that he'd normally miss. The locking mechanism, the power supply, the emergency release trigger required for safety protocols. Is this how Albedo sees things all the time? Ben whispered. He always knew his doppelganger had Galvan intelligence, but experiencing it firsthand was disorienting. His thoughts moved faster, connections forming between ideas that would have taken him minutes to realize before. Ben carefully twisted his wrist, feeling for the emergency release point on the cuff. There, a small pressure node designed as a failsafe. If he could just reach it with his fingertip. A small click, and his right hand was free. The plumbers hadn't noticed, still discussing transfer protocols at the console. Ben quickly freed his other hand, then his ankles, all while keeping his position to appear still restrained. Now he needed a distraction. The room was filled with plumber tech, and somehow, he understood most of it now. His eyes landed on the environmental controls. If he could just, Ben waited until the plumbers' backs were turned, then rolled silently off the table. He darted to the control panel and, with instinctive knowledge he'd never possessed before, input a command sequence. The lights flickered, and the room's atmospheric regulators began cycling rapidly. Containment system malfunction, announced the automated system as fog began pouring from the vents. What the? Secure the prisoner, shouted the lieutenant as the room filled with obscuring mist. Ben was already moving. He slipped past the confused plumbers and through the door they'd left open in their panic. The hallway outside was familiar, he was in the Bellwood plumber base. He knew every escape route, every secret passage. The irony wasn't lost on him, his knowledge as Ben Tennyson was helping him escape as Albedo. Alarms blared as he raced down the corridor. He needed transportation, communication, and to avoid being seen. The holding cell area had an emergency exit that led to the surface through an old service tunnel, perfect for a discreet escape. Ben ducked into a supply closet as a squad of plumbers ran past. His heart pounded, but his mind remained oddly clear, calculating options with mechanical precision. Was this how it felt to be Galvan? To see the world as a series of puzzles with logical solutions? After the hallway cleared, Ben slipped out and made his way to the service tunnel. The exit hatch opened into an alley behind a convenience store 3 blocks from Ben's house. As he emerged into the afternoon sunlight, reality crashed down on him again. "I need to find me," he muttered, then shook his head. I need to find Albedo in my body." Ben shoved his hands into the pockets of Albedo's jacket, finding a few tatanite crystals, universal currency, and what looked like a modified plumber badge. Another piece of stolen tech, no doubt. He pocketed it again and started walking, keeping his head down. He needed allies, but who would believe him? Gwen might sense something was wrong with her mana-reading abilities, but would she trust Albedo long enough to listen? Kevin would probably punch first and never get around to questions. His parents wouldn't recognize anything wrong except Ben acting strange, which wasn't exactly uncommon. That left Julie, Ben decided. Her pet galvanic mechamorph, Ship, might be able to scan him and detect the abnormality. Plus, Julie had always been good at reading him. First, though, he needed to find Albedo. The most logical place to start was his own home. Ben cut through back alleys and side streets, avoiding main roads where plumbers might be searching for him. As he approached his neighborhood, Ben spotted a familiar figure exiting his house, himself, or rather, Albedo in his body. The sight was surreal, watching himself from the outside, walking with a slightly different gait, holding himself with uncharacteristic rigidity. Albedo as Ben was climbing onto Ben's motorcycle, a satisfied smile on his face. Ben ducked behind a parked car, watching as his doppelganger revved the engine and sped away. "Where are you going with my body?" Ben muttered, scanning the area for transportation. His eyes landed on a bicycle leaning against a nearby fence. "Sorry," he whispered to the absent owner as he grabbed it and took off after Albedo. Keeping a safe distance, Ben followed Albedo across town toward the shopping district. The enhanced processing power of Albedo's brain helped him calculate intersection timings and optimal routes to maintain visual contact without being spotted. Albedo pulled up at Mr. Smoothie and parked the bike. Ben watched in disbelief as his body thief strolled confidently inside. "Seriously? You steal my body and the first thing you do is get a smoothie?" Finding a spot across the street with a clear view, Ben observed Albedo ordering, and then making a disgusted face at the first sip. Despite everything, Ben almost laughed. Even in his body, Albedo still hated smoothies. The humor vanished when Ben saw who entered the shop next, Julie, with Ship in backpack form. She'd spotted Ben and was heading over with a smile. "No, no, no," Ben groaned, watching his girlfriend sit down across from Albedo. Even from this distance, he could see Albedo's initial stiffness giving way to a calculated charm. He was playing along, pretending to be Ben. Anger surged through Ben as he watched Albedo talking to Julie, making her laugh, reaching across to take her hand. This wasn't just about the Omnitrix anymore, Albedo was stealing his entire life. Ben was about to storm across the street when a police car cruised by slowly. The officer inside was studying a photo. Ben caught a glimpse of white hair and red eyes. His face. Albedo's face. Which was now his face. "Great," Ben muttered, ducking lower. He was a fugitive, while Albedo got to enjoy smoothies with his girlfriend. He needed a plan, not an emotional confrontation that would probably end with him back in plumber custody. Julie and Albedo finished their smoothies and left the shop together, walking toward the park. Ben followed at a distance, mind racing. If he could get Julie alone, maybe he could convince her. But first, he needed proof. As they entered the park, Ben circled around to get ahead of them, taking a shortcut he knew from countless walks with Julie. He positioned himself near a cluster of trees where they would pass and waited. When they approached, Ben heard Julie's voice. "Are you feeling okay, Ben? You seem different today." Albedo as Ben shrugged. "Just tired from the mission last night. Fighting aliens can wear anyone down." "I guess," Julie said, sounding unconvinced. "It's just, you haven't asked about Ship once, and you're holding your smoothie like it might bite you." "Ship is clearly functioning properly," Albedo replied stiffly, then caught himself. I mean, he looks awesome as always. And this smoothie is, a new flavor I'm trying. Ben saw his opportunity when Ship perked up, the backpack's eyes swiveling toward the trees where he was hiding. The little mechamorph could sense something was off. Julie noticed Ship's alertness. What is it, boy? Before Albedo could react, Ben stepped out from the trees. Julie, don't freak out. I need your help. Albedo. Albedo, as Ben shouted, pushing Julie behind him. Stay back. I'll handle this. He slammed down on the Omnitrix, transforming in a flash of green light into Humongosaur. You've got to be kidding me, Ben muttered as his own alien form towered over him. Julie backed away, eyes wide. Ben, be careful. That's not Ben, both Ben and Humongosaur shouted simultaneously. Julie, listen to me, Ben said quickly. That device Albedo stole yesterday. It switched our minds. I'm Ben trapped in Albedo's body. Don't listen to him, Humongosaur growled. He's trying to confuse you, it's one of his tricks. Julie looked between them, clearly bewildered. Ship leaped off her shoulders, morphing into his blob form and circling both of them, scanning. I can prove it, Ben insisted. Ask me something only the real Ben would know. Waste of time, Humongosaur rumbled, reaching for Ben. I'm taking him back to the plumbers where he belongs. Ben dodged the massive hand and circled back toward Julie. Our first date. You took me to that French restaurant because you thought I'd like it fancy, but we ended up getting chili fries from the burger place across the street and eating them in the park. Julie's eyes widened slightly. Humongosaur lunged again, this time catching Ben by the jacket. Ship. Ship. The little mechamorph bounced excitedly around Julie's feet, trying to tell her something. Ben, wait, Julie called to Humongosaur. Let me talk to him. There's nothing to discuss, Humongosaur insisted, lifting Ben off the ground. He's dangerous and belongs in containment. Other park-goers had noticed the commotion. People were gathering, pointing, some taking videos with their phones. Ben saw plumber agents in civilian clothes moving through the crowd. You're making a scene, Ben hissed at Albedo. Is that your plan? To ruin my reputation along with stealing my body? Albedo's eyes flickered with something, calculation, perhaps pleasure at the chaos. I'm simply apprehending a known criminal. Like a hero should. Ben realized with horror that this was exactly what Albedo wanted, a public confrontation where Ben Tennyson heroically captured Albedo. It cemented both their new identities in the public eye. With Galvan-enhanced thinking, Ben made a split-second decision. He twisted in Humongosaur's grip and kicked hard at the Omnitrix symbol on the dinosaur alien's chest. A flash of green light, and Albedo returned to Ben's human form, momentarily confused by the unexpected transformation. Ben broke free and rolled away, coming up in a fighting stance. Julie, he called, never taking his eyes off Albedo, check Ship's scans. He knows something's wrong. Ship bubbled and reformed next to Julie, his surface displaying readouts only she could see from her angle. Her expression shifted from confusion to shock. Ben, she whispered, looking at the white-haired figure instead of the brown-haired one. No. Albedo shouted, lunging forward to grab Ship. That device is malfunctioning. But the distraction gave Ben the opening he needed. He drove his fist into Albedo's stomach, his own stomach, which felt bizarre, and followed with a leg sweep that dropped his body thief to the ground. I don't want to hurt you, Ben said, keeping Albedo pinned, but that's my body you're joyriding in, and I want it back. Albedo snarled with Ben's face, reaching again for the Omnitrix. Ben grabbed his wrist, using leverage to keep the dial out of reach. Julie. Call Gwen. Ben shouted. Tell her we need. A blast of pink energy hit Ben squarely in the chest, throwing him off Albedo and sending him sprawling across the grass. He looked up to see Gwen and Kevin running toward them, Gwen's hands glowing with mana. Got him, Ben. Gwen called to Albedo, who was picking himself up with a triumphant smile. Perfect timing, cousin, Albedo said, brushing grass from Ben's jacket. He was about to attack Julie. No. Gwen, it's me. Ben shouted, scrambling to his feet. Albedo switched our bodies. I'm Ben. Kevin absorbed the metal from a nearby park bench, covering his body in protective armor. Yeah, and I'm Grandpa Max Save It, freak. Ben backed away as Kevin advanced. Kevin, think about it. When has Albedo ever called Gwen cousin? He doesn't talk like me. That made Kevin hesitate, but only for a second before Albedo jumped in. He's obviously been studying me, Albedo said smoothly. Trying to perfect his impersonation. Don't let him trick you. Gwen's eyes glowed as she scanned both of them with her mana. Her brow furrowed in confusion. Something's not right. Both of your energies feel scrambled. Because he switched us. Ben insisted. Because he's using some kind of cloaking technology, Albedo countered. First Thinker Azimuth already confirmed it's him. Are you questioning Azimuth? The crowd had grown larger, phones recording everything. News vans were pulling up at the park entrance. Ben realized with sinking dread that this public showdown was exactly what Albedo had planned. Gwen, Ben said desperately, remember when we were kids and you got poison ivy at Lake Tallahatchie? You made me promise never to tell anyone that you, don't you dare. Gwen's eyes widened, mana flaring brighter. Used your magic to make it look like chicken pox so you wouldn't be embarrassed in front of that boy you liked. Gwen froze, her mana flickering. How could you possibly know that? Because I'm Ben. Your cousin. The real one. Kevin looked between them, confusion evident on his face. Gwen. What's he talking about? Something only Ben and I know, Gwen said slowly. But Albedo could have. Hacked our communications, found old diaries. Or read my mind when we switched bodies, Ben added. I don't know how much of my memories he got access to. Julie stepped forward with Ship. Ben, I mean, whoever you are, Ship detected an anomaly. Both of your DNA reads as human, but there's some kind of energy signature connecting you. Like you've been swapped. Albedo's face darkened. Enough of this circus. He activated the Omnitrix again, transforming into Jetray. I'll take Albedo to the plumbers myself. Before anyone could react, Jetray swooped down, grabbed Ben, and shot into the sky. Let go of me. Ben struggled in the Neuroshock alien's grip as they soared over Bellwood. With pleasure, Jetray replied, releasing Ben directly above the city dump. Ben tumbled through the air, Albedo's intelligence calculating his terminal velocity, rotation, and optimal landing strategy in milliseconds. He twisted his body, aiming for a pile of discarded mattresses. The impact still knocked the wind from his lungs, but he survived without major injuries. Rolling off the filthy mattresses, Ben looked up to see Jetray circling overhead. Dozens of spectators at the dump's edge were filming with their phones. Albedo had ensured an audience. Citizens of Bellwood. Jetray called out, his voice carrying across the dump. Behold the true face of Albedo, a dangerous criminal who has escaped custody and threatened innocent lives. He's lying. Ben shouted, but the crowd murmured fearfully, backing away from him. Jetray landed, transforming back into Ben's human form. I'll handle this, everyone. Stay back for your safety. Ben clenched his fists. You won't get away with this. I already have, Albedo replied quietly, smirking with Ben's face. Who would believe the notorious Albedo over the heroic Ben Tennyson? You're finished. Cameras flashed as Albedo dramatically reactivated the Omnitrix, transforming into Swampfire. Planting his feet firmly, he sent a stream of fire directly at Ben, who barely rolled out of the way in time. Stop. You'll kill me. Ben shouted, diving behind a junked refrigerator as another blast scorched the ground. Merely containing a threat, Swampfire called back loud enough for the audience to hear. Then, quieter, I've spent too long in your shadow, Tennyson. Now I get to be the hero while you rot in a cell, or worse. Ben's mind raced. Without the Omnitrix, he couldn't match Albedo's alien forms physically. But he had something Albedo didn't, intimate knowledge of how Ben Tennyson actually fought. You'll never pull it off, Ben taunted, circling behind a stack of junked cars. You don't know how to be me. You don't understand humans, or family, or friends. You're just a second-rate copy. Swampfire roared, blasting the car stack with flames hot enough to melt the metal. I am superior in every way. Your limited human intellect can't comprehend my genius. See? That right there, Ben called back, using Albedo's voice to mock his own speech patterns. I don't talk like a dictionary threw up. People will notice. The taunt worked too well. Swampfire charged blindly toward Ben's voice, exactly as the real Ben might when angered. Using the enhanced calculation abilities of Albedo's brain, Ben timed his moment perfectly. He grabbed a broken car door as a shield and swung it hard into Swampfire's path. The improvised weapon caught the plant alien across the face, staggering him backward. Ben followed with a flying kick that connected solidly with the Omnitrix symbol on Swampfire's chest. Green light flashed, and Albedo returned to human form. Ben pressed his advantage, tackling his body thief to the ground. Give me back my body, he shouted, pinning Albedo down. For a moment, their eyes locked, red meeting green, and Ben saw something unexpected in his own face, fear. You don't understand, Albedo hissed. It can't be reversed. The device was experimental, unstable. We're stuck like this. The words hit Ben like a physical blow. You're lying. Am I? Albedo laughed bitterly. Why would I lie when the truth is so much more devastating? We're permanent now, Tennyson. You in my despised form, me with your precious Omnitrix and your perfect life. Before Ben could respond, a blast of pink energy separated them. Gwen, Kevin, and Julie had arrived with plumber backup. That's enough, both of you. Gwen shouted, mana glowing around her hands. Albedo scrambled to his feet, expertly feigning distress. Keep him away from me. He's completely deranged. Ben stood his ground as plumber agents surrounded him, weapons drawn. Gwen, please. It's me. You have to believe me. Gwen's expression wavered with uncertainty. She looked between the two identical yet opposite figures, one with Ben's appearance but something off in his manner, the other with Albedo's appearance but speaking with Ben's desperate sincerity. I don't know what to believe, Gwen admitted. Kevin stepped forward, hands still coated in metal. Easy solution. Let's lock them both up until we figure it out. No. Albedo protested immediately. I'm Ben Tennyson. Earth's defender. You can't detain me while there are people who need saving. His reaction made Kevin's eyes narrow suspiciously. Julie approached cautiously with Ship, who was still scanning both figures and chirping anxiously. Ship's readings are consistent. There's been some kind of energy transfer between them. Fine, Ben said, raising his hands. Lock us both up. Test us. I've got nothing to hide. Albedo activated the Omnitrix again. I don't have time for this nonsense. In a flash, he transformed into XLR-8 and vanished in a blur of motion before anyone could stop him. Ben watched his body disappear with a sinking feeling. And the real Ben Tennyson would never run from a fight, he said quietly. The plumbers closed in, securing restraints around Ben's wrists. As they led him toward a transport vehicle, Gwen stopped them. Wait, she said, studying Ben's face, Albedo's face, intently. I want to talk to him alone. Magister Tennyson gave strict orders, one agent began. And I'm his granddaughter, Gwen cut him off. 5 minutes. The agents reluctantly stepped back, giving them a small bubble of privacy. "If you're really Ben," Gwen said softly, "prove it. Tell me something only Ben would know. Something you've never told anyone else, something that wouldn't be in any file Albedo could hack." Ben thought for a moment, then smiled sadly. "Remember that summer when we were 12, right after the Omnitrix first locked onto my wrist? We were camping by that lake, and I accidentally went ripjaws in my sleep." Gwen's eyes widened slightly. "I swam to the bottom of the lake without realizing it," Ben continued. "When I woke up, I panicked, thought I was drowning. You found me gasping on the shore after the watch timed out. I made you promise never to tell Grandpa because I was embarrassed about freaking out. You said you'd handled it." Gwen whispered. "I lied. I had nightmares about drowning for weeks after. You're the only one who knows that." Gwen's hands trembled slightly. "Ben. Is it really you in there?" "Yeah, Dweeb," he said, using his childhood nickname for her. "It's me. And I'm in serious trouble." Gwen stepped closer, lowering her voice further. "The plumbers won't believe this without proof. Grandpa Max already identified you as Albedo. Because he saw Albedo in my body," Ben explained. "The device was supposed to extract the Omnitrix, but it switched our consciousnesses instead. And according to Albedo, it's permanent." "Nothing's permanent," Gwen insisted. "We'll fix this." "How?" "Albedo's gone. He's got my body, my watch, my identity. Everyone thinks I'm him. Even if you believe me, who else will?" Gwen's expression hardened with determination. "We'll make them believe. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. The plumbers won't let me go. Then we'll have to be creative." Gwen stepped back and winked. "Trust me." As the plumbers moved to take Ben to the transport, the ground suddenly erupted beneath their feet. Vines burst from the dumped soil, wrapping around agents' ankles and weapons. "What the?" Kevin spun around, searching for the source. "Terrorist attack," someone shouted as more plants erupted, creating chaos. In the confusion, Gwen slipped next to Ben and touched his restraints. They glowed pink briefly, then fell away. "Run," she whispered. "Meet me at the abandoned plumber outpost in Sector 7. You remember it?" Ben nodded. "The old radio tower. Go now. I'll create cover." As Ben sprinted away, Gwen's mana spread across the dump, creating illusory duplicates of Albedo running in different directions. The plumbers scattered in pursuit of the decoys while the real Ben disappeared into the maze of junk piles. He didn't stop running until he'd reached the far side of the dump, slipping through a hole in the fence. The streets of Bellwood stretched before him, a city where he was now the most wanted fugitive instead of its greatest hero. Ben ducked into an alley as a plumber vehicle cruised past, its scanner sweeping the area. He needed to reach the old radio tower without being spotted, which meant avoiding main streets and surveillance cameras. For the first time, Ben felt a strange gratitude for Albedo's Galvan intelligence. His mind mapped the fastest, safest route through Bellwood's back alleys and maintenance tunnels, places Ben had explored as a kid but never systematically categorized until now. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across Bellwood, Ben slipped through the city like a ghost. His life had been completely upended in less than a day. Now he was a fugitive in a stolen body, racing against time to reclaim his identity before Albedo destroyed everything he'd built. The irony wasn't lost on him. After years of transforming into aliens, Ben Tennyson was finally stuck in a form he couldn't change, and it belonged to his worst enemy. Chapter 2, Living Your Enemy's Life. The abandoned radio tower loomed against the night sky, a skeletal monument to obsolete technology. Ben crept through the overgrown perimeter, scanning for surveillance. His borrowed brain catalogued every detail, the pattern of rust on the chain-link fence, the undisturbed spider webs across the entrance, the absence of recent footprints. "Clear," he muttered to himself, slipping through a gap in the fence. The old plumber outpost beneath the tower had been decommissioned years ago when plumber headquarters moved underground. Most of the tech had been stripped, but the structure remained secure, a concrete bunker disguised as a maintenance shed. Ben pressed his palm against a weathered electrical box. A hidden scanner hummed to life, registering his handprint. "Access denied," announced a computerized voice. "Unauthorized biological signature detected." "Right," Ben groaned. "Not my hand anymore." He stepped back, examining the security system with newfound clarity. The wiring configuration, the bypass protocols, knowledge he'd never possessed suddenly accessible in Albedo's brain. He pried open the control panel and rearranged several connections. "If I cross the primary authentication circuit with the maintenance bypass." The door slid open with a reluctant hiss. Ben grinned despite himself. "Ha! Being a genius has its perks." Inside, emergency lights flickered on automatically, revealing a dusty command center. Computer terminals sat dormant beneath protective covers, and storage lockers lined the walls. Ben immediately began searching the lockers, finding emergency rations, basic medical supplies, and, most valuable, a toolkit containing plumber-grade equipment. "Not quite the Omnitrix," he said, examining a sonic screwdriver-like tool, "but it'll do." A noise outside made him freeze. Ben grabbed a makeshift weapon, a piece of pipe, and positioned himself beside the door. Footsteps approached, then a familiar voice called out. "Ben." "It's me." Gwen entered cautiously, Kevin and Julie close behind. Ship bounced excitedly around their feet. "Did anyone follow you?" Ben asked, lowering the pipe. "No," Kevin replied, eyeing him suspiciously. "We took every precaution." Triple-checked. An awkward silence fell as they studied Ben's borrowed face. Julie stepped forward first. "It's really you in there, isn't it?" she asked quietly. Ben nodded. "Yeah. Weird, right?" Ship chirped and bounced up to rub against Ben's leg affectionately. "Ship recognizes you," Julie said, smiling slightly. "He says your energy signature is Ben's, just, packaged differently." Kevin folded his arms. "I'm still not convinced. This could be another of Albedo's tricks." "Kevin." Gwen elbowed him. "What? We've been fooled before." "And this time Albedo has the Omnitrix, my Omnitrix," Ben corrected sharply. "And my body, my house, my life." He ran a hand through unfamiliar white hair. "Everything." Gwen placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We'll get it back. All of it." "How?" Ben demanded. "Albedo's out there with my face, convincing everyone he's me. Grandpa Max already believes him. The plumbers are hunting me. And the worst part?" He gestured to his pale hands. "Albedo said the switch is permanent." "He's lying," Gwen insisted. "What if he's not?" Ben sank into a dusty chair. The device was Azimuth's prototype. If First Thinker technology did this, who could undo it? Azimuth?" Kevin suggested. "Exactly. And how am I supposed to get to Azimuth looking like this?" Ben pointed to his red eyes. "The moment I approach any plumber facility, I'll be arrested." Julie sat beside him. "Then we bring Azimuth to you." Ben looked up. "How?" "We don't," Kevin said, stepping forward. "We bring you to Azimuth. I've got a ship that can get us to Galvan Prime." "Your ship is monitored by the plumbers," Ben pointed out. "Not this one." Kevin grinned. "Let's just say I kept a little souvenir from our run-in with Arjet last year. It's small, but it's fast and has cloaking tech." Hope flickered in Ben's chest. "When can we leave?" "There's a problem," Gwen interjected. "We can't all disappear at once. It would tip off Albedo immediately. Kevin and I are expected at Plumber HQ tomorrow for the investigation into Albedo's escape." If we don't show, they'll know something's up. And I have tennis nationals, Julie added. If I suddenly vanish, my parents will call the police. Ben's shoulders slumped. So I'm on my own. Not quite, Gwen said. You go with Kevin tonight to prep the ship. I'll meet you tomorrow after creating an alibi. Julie keeps an eye on fake Ben and reports any suspicious activity. I can do that, Julie confirmed. I've already noticed things off about Ben. He ordered a burger yesterday and picked off all the pickles. I love pickles, Ben said. Exactly. Kevin nodded approvingly at the plan. While we're getting the ship ready, we should also build Tennyson here. Some gear. Without the Omnitrix, he's basically useless in a fight. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Ben muttered. He's right, Gwen said. You need protection. Albedo will come after you once he realizes you're a threat to his new identity. Ben's eyes drifted to the plumber toolkit. An idea formed in his mind, connections and possibilities he would never have seen before. I might have something better than protection, he said, grabbing the tools. I might have a way to level the playing field. Across town, Albedo stared at his reflection in Ben Tennyson's bathroom mirror. He ran fingers through brown hair, studying green eyes that followed his commands. Finally, he whispered, flexing Ben's hands. A proper body. My rightful place. The Omnitrix gleamed on his wrist, the authentic original rather than his inferior copy. He'd tried several transformations already, Humongosaur, Jetray, Swampfire, XLR-8. Each was perfect, untainted by the DNA degradation his copy had suffered. A knock on the bathroom door interrupted his admiration. Ben. Sandra Tennyson's voice called. Dinner's ready, sweetie. Albedo grimaced. The human woman had been hovering around him since he arrived, asking inane questions about his day, and trying to touch his head to check for injuries. He'd barely managed to maintain his facade. Coming. Mom, he called back, the word feeling foreign on his tongue. Downstairs, the Tennyson family's dining table was set with mismatched plates and simple food. Sandra beamed as Ben took his seat, while Carl Tennyson lowered his newspaper. So, sport, Carl said, passing a bowl of mashed potatoes, your mother tells me you captured that Albedo character today. Nice work. Albedo accepted the bowl, calculating the appropriate response. Yes. He was no match for me. The news said he escaped during transport, Sandra noted worriedly. Are you sure you're safe? Maybe you should stay home tonight instead of patrolling. I'm perfectly capable of handling one escaped criminal, Albedo replied stiffly. Carl and Sandra exchanged concerned glances. No one's questioning your abilities, Ben, Carl said carefully. Your mother's just worried, that's all. Albedo realized his mistake. Ben wouldn't respond with affronted pride, he'd make a joke, offer reassurance. He forced Ben's face into what he hoped was a carefree grin. Don't worry. I'll be fine. Albedo's probably hiding in a hole somewhere by now. Sandra relaxed slightly and began serving dinner. Well, at least eat properly before you go hero-ng around town. Albedo examined the food with thinly veiled distaste. Human nutrition was so inefficient, chunks of overcooked plant matter and animal protein drowning in fats and starches. On Galvan Prime, nutrition was optimized into perfect, flavorless capsules. He took a reluctant bite of chicken and was surprised by an explosion of flavor. Salt, herbs, something tangy, his taste buds, Ben's taste buds, registered each component separately yet simultaneously. The experience was not unpleasant. This is good, he admitted, taking another bite. Sandra beamed. I tried that new herb mix you like. Albedo continued eating with growing enthusiasm. Perhaps human food had some redeeming qualities after all. He found himself clearing his plate and accepting seconds, a behavior pattern he'd have found disgusting in his Galvan form. As dinner progressed, he observed the Tennysons' interaction patterns. They asked questions about each other's days, shared humorous anecdotes with no informational value, and frequently engaged in light physical contact, pats on shoulders, touches on hands. None of it served any practical purpose, yet they clearly derived satisfaction from it. "How's Julie doing with her tournament prep?" Sandra asked. "Will you be cheering her on tomorrow?" Albedo froze mid-bite. Julie Yamamoto, Ben's romantic partner. He'd interacted with her briefly at the smoothie shop, but hadn't considered the ongoing commitment such a relationship entailed. "Yes," he answered carefully. "I'll be there, supporting her. As boyfriends do." Carl chuckled. "You might want to sound more enthusiastic when you're actually talking to her, son." Albedo forced a laugh. "Of course. I'm just tired." After dinner, he escaped to Ben's room, locking the door. The space was chaotic, clothing strewn about, gaming equipment tangled with alien tech, walls plastered with posters of human entertainment figures. How did Tennyson function in such disorder? He accessed Ben's computer, searching for information that would help him maintain his cover. School schedules, friend contacts, daily routines. The more he discovered, the more daunting the task seemed. Ben's life was a complex web of social obligations, educational requirements, heroic responsibilities, and familial commitments. A notification popped up on the screen, a video call from Gwen. Albedo hesitated, then accepted. Maintaining his cover required interaction with Ben's inner circle. Gwen's face appeared on screen, studying him intently. "Hey, Ben. Feeling better after everything that happened today?" "Much better," Albedo replied, mimicking Ben's casual posture. "Just relaxing before patrol." "Grandpa Max wants a full report on the Albedo incident," Gwen said. "He thinks there might be more to the story." Albedo tensed. "There's nothing more to report." "Albedo stole Asmatha's device, I stopped him, the device malfunctioned." End of story. "What exactly did the device do?" Gwen pressed. "The plumbers found it at the scene, completely fried. Asmath is sending someone to retrieve it." "It was an Omnitrix extractor," Albedo explained, seeing no harm in the truth. "Designed to transfer the Omnitrix from one host to another." "Obviously, it failed." "Obviously," Gwen echoed, her expression unreadable. "Well, get some rest. And Ben? Don't forget Julie's match tomorrow. 2 o'clock, not 3. She specifically reminded you yesterday." "I remember," Albedo lied smoothly. After ending the call, he sprawled across Ben's bed, mind racing. Maintaining this deception would require constant vigilance. One slip, one detail forgotten or behavior pattern missed, could expose him. Yet the rewards were worth it. The Omnitrix. Respect. Freedom from the humiliating form Asmath had trapped him in. His eyes drifted closed, exhaustion overwhelming him. The last thought before sleep claimed him was unexpected. He couldn't remember the last time he'd lain on a bed this comfortable, eaten food this satisfying, or spoken to others without contempt or suspicion. Perhaps being Ben Tennyson had advantages beyond the Omnitrix. Dawn light filtered through the grimy windows of Kevin's garage. Ben hunched over a workbench, surrounded by dismantled plumber tech and alien components. His fingers moved with precision he'd never possessed before, assembling microscopic circuits with perfect accuracy. "This is freaking me out," Kevin commented, watching from a safe distance. "You're building tech I couldn't figure out in a month, and you're doing it from memory." "Not my memory," Ben reminded him, connecting a power coupling smaller than a grain of rice. "Albedo's a Galvan. Their brains are wired for this stuff. Still weird seeing you act smart." Ben glanced up. "I've always been smart." "Yeah, but not reconfigure alien tech without instructions smart." Ben couldn't argue with that. The knowledge flowing through his mind was intoxicating, understanding systems at a glance, seeing connections between technologies, intuiting solutions to problems that would have baffled him days ago. Almost done, he said, fitting a final component into what resembled a bulky wristwatch. Unlike the Omnitrix, this device was crude, its casing cobbled together from spare parts. It won't win any beauty contests, but it should work. Kevin leaned closer. What exactly did you build? I call it the emulator, Ben explained, strapping the device to his wrist. It can't transform me like the Omnitrix, but it can simulate certain alien abilities through technology. Show me. Ben tapped a sequence on the device's interface. It hummed to life, energy flowing through circuitry visible beneath the transparent casing. He aimed his arm at a stack of empty cans and pressed another control. A burst of concentrated air shot from the device, scattering the cans across the garage. Knock off TerraSpin powers, Ben explained with a grin. I've also got a crude heat beam based on NRG's radiation, magnetic pulses similar to Lodestar, and a basic force field generator inspired by Echo's sound walls. Kevin whistled, impressed despite himself. Not bad, Tennyson. Or should I say, Albedo? Ben's smile faded. Don't even joke about that. Sorry. Kevin raised his hands apologetically. Bad taste. It's fine. Ben examined his pale hands, Albedo's hands. I just don't want to get used to this. Being stuck in his body, having his face, his voice. We'll fix it, Kevin assured him, his usual gruffness softened. Ship's almost ready. Once Gwen joins us, we're Galvan-bound. Ben nodded, trying to maintain hope. Any word from Julie? She texted an hour ago. Said fake you is acting super weird at school. Getting perfect test scores, correcting teachers, avoiding the cafeteria food. That'll definitely raise flags, Ben said. I barely pass most tests, and I love cafeteria tater tots. Yeah, well, apparently Albedo's not a great actor. Julie's keeping tabs on him. Ben returned to tinkering with the emulator, making final adjustments. As much as he appreciated the enhanced intelligence, he couldn't ignore the constant reminder that he was inhabiting his enemy's body. Every glimpse of white hair and reflective surfaces, every word spoken in Albedo's voice, all reinforced that he'd lost something fundamental. I miss it, Ben admitted quietly. What? Being you. Being a hero. Ben flexed his wrist where the Omnitrix should have been. I've had the watch so long, it became part of me. Now I feel powerless. Kevin absorbed metal from a nearby tool, coating his fist. He punched Ben's shoulder lightly, the metal barely clanging against flesh. The watch doesn't make the hero, Tennyson. Your annoying Boy Scout attitude does. Kevin reverted his hand to normal. Besides, you were taking down bad guys before you found that thing. You'll manage. Ben smiled slightly. Thanks, Kevin. Don't mention it. Seriously, don't. I have a reputation. Their moment was interrupted by the garage door opening. Both tensed, ready for trouble, but it was Gwen who slipped inside, looking harried. We've got a problem, she announced without preamble. Albedo's convinced Grandpa Max to put together a task force specifically to hunt down Albedo, meaning you, Ben. Great, Ben groaned. How'd you get away? Told them I was following a lead on your, Albedo's, whereabouts. But it won't hold for long. She examined the ship Kevin had been preparing, a sleek, pod-like craft barely large enough for 3 people. Is that ready? Almost, Kevin replied. Needs fuel cells and a final systems check. Make it quick. The plumbers are expanding their search perimeter. This area could be swept within hours. Ben held up the emulator. At least I'm not defenseless anymore. Gwen examined the device with interest. You built this? It's impressive. Turns out being a super genius has advantages, Ben said. Who knew? Gwen's communicator beeped. She checked it, frowning. It's Julie. She says Albedo's headed to her tennis match, but he's acting increasingly strange. Teachers are starting to notice. If he blows my cover at school, it's one more place I can't go back to, Ben worried. That's the least of our problems, Gwen replied. Julie also says Ship detected something unusual around Ben earlier, some kind of tech signature that made Ship agitated. Kevin looked up from his work on the ship. What kind of tech? She's not sure, but she said it seemed to be scanning the Omnitrix. The three exchanged concerned looks. Someone's targeting Albedo, thinking he's me, Ben realized. Or targeting the Omnitrix itself. Either way, we need to warn him, Gwen said. Warn him? Kevin objected. The guy who stole Ben's body and is currently ruining his life. If someone's after the Omnitrix, they won't care who's wearing it, Ben pointed out. And right now, that's my body in the line of fire. Gwen nodded. I'll try to call him. No need, Ben said, tapping his temple. I know exactly where he'll be at 2 o'clock. The bleachers surrounding the tennis courts buzzed with excited conversation as Julie Yamamoto prepared to serve. Her opponent, a tall girl from a rival school, bounced impatiently on the other side of the net. In the front row, Albedo sat rigidly in Ben's body, maintaining what he calculated to be an appropriately supportive expression. The social ritual of spectating seemed pointless, humans gathering to watch other humans hit a small object back and forth across a designated area. Yet his absence would have been conspicuous. Julie served powerfully, starting a rapid exchange. The crowd cheered each successful return, their enthusiasm perplexing Albedo. He clapped when others clapped, trying to blend in while his mind wandered to more important matters. The Omnitrix required further testing. While the basic transformation functions worked perfectly, he hadn't yet accessed the master control or the advanced features Azimuth had surely built into the original. Additionally, maintaining his cover as Ben Tennyson was proving more challenging than anticipated. Humans expected constant emotional performance, smiles, enthusiasm, physical affection, all delivered with precise timing and intensity. Go Julie, he called belatedly after a particularly impressive shot, noticing others shouting encouragement. Julie glanced his way briefly, a flicker of confusion crossing her face before she refocused on the match. She'd been watching him carefully since yesterday, clearly sensing something amiss. Of all Ben's associates, she posed the greatest threat to his disguise. As the match progressed, Albedo became aware of an uncomfortable sensation, someone watching him. Not the casual observation of nearby spectators, but focused, intent scrutiny. He scanned the crowd casually, maintaining his cover while searching for the observer. Nothing seemed immediately suspicious, yet the feeling persisted. Julie won her set to enthusiastic applause. During the brief break, she approached the bleachers, towel around her shoulders. What did you think? She asked, sipping from her water bottle. Your biomechanical efficiency is impressive, Albedo replied, then caught himself. I mean, you were awesome. Really, smashed that ball. Julie raised an eyebrow. Are you feeling okay? You've been acting weird since yesterday. Merely tired from heroic exertions, Albedo assured her, attempting a casual posture by slouching. Saving the world is exhausting. Right. Julie glanced at the Omnitrix. You haven't gone hero since the fight with Albedo. That's not like you. Albedo tensed. Her observation was uncomfortably accurate. He'd been avoiding transformation when possible, fearing some aspect of the alien's personalities might interfere with his performance as Ben. No reason to transform without threats present, he explained stiffly. Since when do you need a reason? Julie challenged. Last week you turned into Fast Track just to beat the lunch line. Before Albedo could formulate a response, a small green-black blob emerged from Julie's tennis bag, Ship, her galvanic mechamorph pet. The creature chirped suspiciously, circling Albedo's feet. Ship! Ship! it exclaimed, its surface patterns fluctuating rapidly. He's been acting strange around you too, Julie noted. Almost like he doesn't recognize you. Albedo took a step back from the alien pet. Perhaps he's malfunctioning. Mechamorphs are notoriously unstable. Ship bristled, his form spiking defensively. Ship. Ship. He doesn't like when you talk about him that way, Julie translated, her suspicion visibly growing. Ben, what's going on? And don't say, nothing, because I know something's wrong. The sensation of being watched intensified suddenly. Albedo's instincts, or perhaps Ben's body's instincts, screamed danger. He grabbed Julie's arm, pulling her down just as something whizzed over their heads, embedding itself in the wooden bleacher with a metallic thunk. Get down! Albedo commanded as screams erupted around them. The crowd scattered in panic. The object in the bleacher beeped ominously, then exploded in a shower of splinters. Through the chaos, Albedo spotted the attacker, a figure in sleek black armor positioned on the recreation center roof. Stay here, he ordered Julie, activating the Omnitrix. In a flash of green light, he transformed into Jetray and launched into the sky. The armored figure fired again, not conventional weapons, but compressed packets of energy that homed in on Jetray with unnerving accuracy. Albedo swooped and dodged, his aerial maneuverability allowing him to evade the attacks. Whoever you are, he called out, you've made a grave tactical error attacking me. The figure responded by launching a net of crackling energy. Jetray barrel rolled to avoid it, then countered with neuroshock beams from his eyes and tail. The attacker's armor absorbed the blasts without apparent damage. Fascinating, Albedo muttered. Energy-absorbent alloy. He circled higher, analyzing his opponent. The armor design was unfamiliar, not plumber, not Forever Knight, not standard mercenary gear. Custom work, then. Specialized. The attacker raised their arm, revealing a built-in scanner directed at Jetray. The device pulsed, sending data to the helmet's heads-up display. Whatever they saw caused them to pause momentarily. Scanning me? Jetray called down. Here's something your data won't tell you. He swooped down, transforming mid-dive into Humongosaur. The massive dinosaur alien crashed onto the roof with building-shaking force, grabbing for the armored figure. To his surprise, his opponent moved with startling speed, evading his grasp and leaping to an adjacent rooftop. Stop running and fight! Humongosaur bellowed, pounding his chest. The figure tilted their head, studying him. When they spoke, their voice was electronically distorted. Interesting. Your biometric patterns are inconsistent. Albedo froze. Could they detect the consciousness swap? Impossible, unless. Who sent you? He demanded. Instead of answering, the attacker fired a specialized weapon, not at Humongosaur, but at the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. The blast connected before Albedo could react, energy crackling around the device. Pain shot through Albedo's body as the Omnitrix sparked and flashed. He roared, dropping to one knee as the transformation destabilized. Green light enveloped him, fluctuating wildly as the Omnitrix cycled through random aliens before finally returning him to human form. Albedo collapsed, gasping. The Omnitrix sparked fitfully on his wrist, its interface glitching with static. The armored figure approached slowly. Not what I expected, they said, voice still disguised. But useful data nonetheless. Albedo struggled to his feet, reaching for the Omnitrix. The device remained unresponsive, cycling through error messages. What did you do to it? Temporary disruption pulse, the figure explained. Designed to isolate the quantum signature of the Omnitrix for analysis. Analysis for whom? Albedo demanded, backing away. Without the Omnitrix, he was vulnerable, trapped in a weak human form with no defenses. The figure raised their weapon again. That's not your concern. Though I must say, you're not quite what my employer described. Before they could fire, a blast of pink energy struck the attacker from behind, sending them stumbling forward. Gwen Tennyson stood on the adjacent rooftop, hands glowing with mana. "Get away from my cousin," she shouted, unleashing another energy barrage. The armored figure activated jets in their boots, lifting off the roof. "Another time, then," they said to Albedo, before accelerating away at remarkable speed. Gwen leaped across to Albedo's rooftop using mana platforms, Kevin following by absorbing the metal from a utility box and forming makeshift climbing spikes on his hands. "You okay, Ben?" Gwen asked, helping Albedo to his feet. "Fine," he replied, examining the Omnitrix. The device was stabilizing, its error messages fading. The Omnitrix absorbed most of the attack. "What was that about?" Kevin demanded, scanning the sky where the attacker had disappeared. "Unknown," Albedo answered truthfully. They appeared to be analyzing the Omnitrix's quantum signature. Gwen and Kevin exchanged glances. "That's pretty specific tech knowledge for Ben," Kevin noted suspiciously. Albedo realized his mistake. "I mean, they were scanning the watch with some science thing. Who knows what they wanted?" "Right," Gwen said, clearly unconvinced. "We should get you somewhere safe until the Omnitrix recovers." "I'm perfectly capable of protecting myself," Albedo insisted. "Sure you are," Kevin said sarcastically. "That's why you were about to get your butt handed to you by Robo-Bounty Hunter." Albedo bristled with indignation, another emotional response that surprised him. Ben's body seemed wired for pride, for impulsiveness, for a stubborn resistance to logical suggestions. "Fine," he conceded grudgingly. "Where do you propose we go?" "Plumber HQ," Gwen suggested. "Grandpa Max should know about this attack." "No," Albedo said too quickly. "I mean, no need to bother him with this. Probably just another bounty hunter after the Omnitrix. Happens all the time, right?" Kevin frowned. "Since when do you pass up a chance to tell Max about your heroics?" Albedo's mind raced for an explanation. "I simply think we should handle this ourselves. Prove our competence." "Aha," Kevin said flatly. "You know what I think?" "I think, Ben." Julie's voice interrupted as she ran toward them across the rooftop, ship bouncing beside her. "Are you hurt? What happened to that attacker?" "Got away," Gwen explained. But they were definitely targeting Ben, or more specifically, the Omnitrix. Ship circled Albedo cautiously, making agitated beeping sounds. "He's still acting weird around you," Julie observed. "Ever since yesterday." "Since Albedo escaped," Gwen added pointedly. "Interesting timing." Albedo felt their suspicion mounting, threatening his cover. He needed a distraction, something to divert their attention. Calculating quickly, he clutched his head and groaned dramatically. "Something's wrong," he gasped, dropping to his knees. "The Omnitrix, feedback from the attack, affecting my head." Gwen rushed to his side. "Ben. What's happening?" "Pain, memories, confused." Albedo continued, giving a performance worthy of Earth's ridiculous soap operas. "Need rest." "We should get him home," Julie suggested, concern overriding her suspicion. Kevin looked skeptical but nodded. "I'll drive." As they helped him to his feet, Albedo suppressed a satisfied smile. Humans were so easily manipulated by displays of weakness. Still, this attack troubled him. Someone was analyzing the Omnitrix, someone with technology advanced enough to temporarily disable it. He needed more information. And more importantly, he needed to ensure his cover remained intact long enough to fully master the Omnitrix. If the original Ben Tennyson reached azimuth before he did. No. He wouldn't allow that. This body, this life, the Omnitrix, they were his now. Julie's tennis match had been cancelled after the attack, the courts cleared for safety. As Kevin drove Ben home, the real Ben watched from the shadows of a maintenance shed, emulator ready on his wrist. That's definitely not a random bounty hunter, he said into a communicator. The tech is too specialized. Agreed, Gwen's voice replied through the device. But I couldn't get a good read on their energy signature. It was masked somehow. Ben had arrived just in time to witness the attack from a distance, unable to intervene without exposing himself to the plumbers who quickly responded to the scene. Whoever they are, they're specifically after the Omnitrix's quantum signature, Ben noted. That's not something your average hunter would even know about. Do you think Albedo knows who's behind it? Hard to say. Ben peered out as the crowd dispersed. But he's definitely struggling to maintain his cover. I saw him talking to Julie, it was painful to watch. She's definitely suspicious, Gwen confirmed. She pulled me aside to ask if I'd noticed anything different about Ben. What did you tell her? Nothing concrete. I don't want to put her in danger if Albedo realizes she knows. Ben nodded, though Gwen couldn't see him. Good call. But we might need her help. Ship clearly knows something's wrong. We're still on schedule, Gwen assured him. Kevin should have the ship ready by tonight. Meet us at the garage at midnight. Will do. Ben signed off and slipped away from the recreation center, keeping to back roads and alleys. As he walked, he considered the attacker. Their technology was sophisticated, capable of temporarily disabling the Omnitrix. Few beings in the galaxy possessed such advanced tech. Whoever had sent them must be powerful, connected, and specifically interested in the watch's quantum properties. A troubling thought struck him: what if they detected the consciousness swap? The attacker had specifically mentioned inconsistent biometric patterns. If they reported back to their employer that something was wrong with Ben Tennyson, it could attract even more dangerous attention. He needed to accelerate their plans. Reaching Azimuth was now more urgent than ever. Ben ducked into an abandoned building to rest and continue modifications to the emulator. The device had performed well in initial tests, but lacked power. He needed a more stable energy source if it was going to be reliable in combat. As he worked, Ben reflected on his situation. Just days ago, his biggest concerns had been homework, soccer practice, and the occasional alien invasion. Now he was a fugitive in his enemy's body, hunted by his own grandfather, with mysterious attackers adding to the chaos. Yet strangely, he wasn't panicking. Albedo's Galvan brain processed problems differently, more systematically, less emotionally. He could analyze his predicament with detached clarity, identifying variables and potential solutions with machine-like efficiency. Is this how gray matter feels all the time? He wondered aloud, soldering a microscopic connection. A noise outside interrupted his work, the distinctive hum of plumber scanners. Ben quickly packed up his tools and slipped out the back, barely avoiding the patrol. The sun was setting as he made his way toward Kevin's garage. He'd have to wait nearby until midnight, staying hidden from the increasing plumber patrols. His communicator beeped with a text from Julie. Ship confirmed something wrong with Ben. DNA normal but brainwave patterns completely different. I think I believe your story now. What's our next move? Ben smiled, relief washing over him. Julie believed him. He had another ally. He quickly texted back, meet at Kevin's at midnight. Bring Ship. Be careful, don't let Albedo suspect you know. Her reply came seconds later, already on it. He's at your house, recovering. Your parents are fussing over him. It's kind of funny watching him squirm under the attention. Ben chuckled despite himself, imagining Albedo enduring his mom's nurturing and his dad's corny jokes. The thought sobered him quickly, though. That was his family, his home, his life that Albedo was experiencing. As night fell over Bellwood, Ben found a secluded spot near Kevin's garage to wait. The stars emerged, brilliant and clear, the same stars he'd visited in various alien forms over the years. One of those stars was Galvan Prime, where Azimuth might hold the key to reversing what Albedo had done. Ben only hoped they could reach the first thinker before the mysterious attacker struck again, or before Albedo completed his takeover of Ben Tennyson's life. Albedo sat stiffly on the Tennyson living room couch as Sandra placed another pillow behind his back and Carl adjusted the television volume. "Are you sure you don't need to go to the plumber medical bay?" Sandra asked for the third time. That attack sounded serious. "I'm fine, Mom," Albedo assured her, the familial term still awkward on his tongue. "The Omnitrix protected me." "Well, you're staying home tonight," she insisted. "No patrolling, no alien fighting. Doctor's orders." "You're not a doctor," Albedo pointed out. "Mom orders, then," Sandra corrected with a smile, ruffling his hair. Albedo suppressed a flinch at the contact. The constant touching these humans engaged in remained unsettling, though he was becoming marginally more accustomed to it. "I've made your favorite dinner," Sandra continued. "Chili fries and those little pizza rolls you like." Albedo's expression brightened genuinely. Human food continued to be a surprising source of pleasure. The complex flavors, textures, and temperatures created sensory experiences his Galvan form had never known. "That sounds acceptable," he managed, then added hastily, "I mean, awesome." Carl chuckled. "The attack must have really rattled you. You're talking like Albedo." Albedo froze. "What do you mean?" "You know, all formal and stiff," Carl explained, deepening his voice in mimicry. "That sounds acceptable. Next you'll be calling me paternal. Unit, instead of dad." Sandra laughed. "Give him a break, Carl. He's had a rough day." Albedo forced a laugh, noting the interaction for future reference. Ben's speech patterns were casual, imprecise, laden with slang and contractions. His own more formal diction stood out as suspicious. "Yeah, totally wiped out," he said, overcompensating with exaggerated informality. "That dude in the armor was like, whoa, super tough." Carl raised an eyebrow at the strange phrasing but didn't comment further. "Well, get some rest, sport. Your mother and I are going to the neighbor's dinner party, but we can cancel if you need us to stay." "No need," Albedo said quickly. Time alone would allow him to work on the Omnitrix without interruption. "I'll just chill here. Watch TV. Normal teenager stuff." "If you're sure," Sandra said hesitantly. "Call us if anything happens." "Anything at all." After they finally left, Albedo slumped in relief. Maintaining the charade was exhausting, a constant performance with no breaks. He examined the Omnitrix, which had recovered from the attacker's energy pulse but still showed occasional glitches in its interface. The scan the attacker performed troubled him. The Omnitrix's quantum signature was unique, a fingerprint at the subatomic level that Azimuth had designed as the ultimate security measure. Interest in that specific characteristic suggested an agenda beyond mere theft or destruction. Albedo accessed Ben's computer, searching news reports of the attack. Eyewitness accounts described a robot or armored warrior, but provided little useful information. No similar incidents had been reported recently. His search was interrupted by a knock at the door. Albedo tensed, considering ignoring it, but remembered Ben's social obligations might include unexpected visitors. He approached cautiously, checking through the peephole. Julie stood outside, ship tucked under her arm in backpack form. Albedo considered his options. Avoiding her might increase suspicion, but interaction risked exposure. His illness provided a convenient excuse to keep the visit brief. He opened the door. "Julie. What brings you here?" "Wanted to check on you," she said, entering without waiting for an invitation. "That attack was pretty scary." "I'm fine," Albedo assured her, maintaining distance. "Just resting as instructed." Julie studied him with unnerving intensity. "The Omnitrix is working again?" "Mostly." He displayed the device. "Some minor glitches in the transformation matrix, but nothing serious." "Good." She sat on the couch, making herself comfortable. "I thought we could watch a movie or something." Take your mind off everything. Albedo hesitated. This wasn't in his plans for the evening, but refusing might seem suspicious. What movie did you have in mind? How about Sumo Slammers, the movie? Julie suggested innocently. Your favorite. Perfect, Albedo agreed quickly, though he had no particular interest in the franchise. He'd seen references to it in Ben's room and recognized it as something important to Tennyson's identity. Julie smiled and patted the couch beside her. Albedo sat stiffly, maintaining what he calculated to be an appropriate distance for a boyfriend. Ship hopped from Julie's arms, circling the living room curiously. Keep that creature under control, Albedo said sharply. It shouldn't be running loose. Julie's expression flickered. Ship isn't a creature, he's our friend. You know that, Ben. Of course, Albedo corrected quickly. I simply meant he seems agitated. Is he functioning properly? He's fine, Julie said, watching him closely. Just curious about something. Ship continued circling, occasionally chirping and scanning the room. His behavior made Albedo increasingly uncomfortable. Shall we start the movie, he suggested, hoping to divert attention. Julie nodded, picking up the remote. Sure thing. As the film began playing, Albedo forced himself to relax. This was merely another performance. Sit through a mindless human entertainment, pretend to enjoy it, maintain cover. Until she left. On screen, cartoon warriors in ridiculous outfits battled with exaggerated movements. Albedo found it mind-numbingly stupid, but noticed Julie watching him rather than the film. Isn't this the part you always quote? She asked casually as a large character delivered a dramatic speech. Albedo had no idea what she meant. Yes. Classic scene. Weird, Julie said. You usually shout it along with the movie. Every time. Trapped, Albedo fumbled for an explanation. I'm conserving energy. Due to my illness. Right. Julie's tone was flat, disbelieving. Ship suddenly jumped onto the coffee table, his form shifting to display what appeared to be scan results. Complex readouts flashed across his surface, clearly visible to both of them. Ship. Julie exclaimed with unconvincing surprise. What are you doing? Albedo stared at the readouts with growing alarm. The mechamorph was displaying comparative brain wave patterns, and highlighting significant differences between Ben's recorded patterns and current readings. Turn it off, Albedo ordered, standing abruptly. Ship, stop, Julie said, though she made no move to actually interrupt the mechamorph's display. Sorry about that. He's been obsessed with scanning you since yesterday. Why would he do that? Albedo asked carefully. Julie met his gaze directly. I think you know why. Albedo. The name hung in the air between them. Albedo's mind raced through options: denial, confession, escape, elimination of the witness. In his Galvan form, he would have chosen the most logical solution without hesitation. But in Ben's body, with Ben's biochemistry influencing his thought patterns, he felt unexpected emotions clouding his judgment: guilt, shame, even a strange reluctance to harm this human who looked at him with such disappointment. What gave me away? He finally asked, abandoning the pretense. Everything, Julie replied simply. The way you talk, how you react to Ship, your sudden disgust for smoothies, how you don't touch me or look at me the same way. Her voice softened slightly. Ben looks at me like I'm the center of his universe. You look at me like I'm a specimen to study. Albedo sank back onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. I see. Where is he? Julie demanded. What did you do to Ben? He's fine, Albedo assured her. Merely occupying my previous form, as I am occupying his. You switched bodies. How? A device of Asmitha's design. It malfunctioned during our confrontation. Julie's eyes narrowed. Can it be reversed? Albedo hesitated. The truth, that the process was almost certainly irreversible, would only provoke her further. Perhaps. But not easily. Ship bounced agitatedly, sensing the tension. Julie placed a calming hand on the mechamorph. Ben's friends know, don't they? Albedo guessed. That's why Gwen and Kevin have been watching me so carefully. I don't know what they know, Julie replied carefully, though her expression confirmed his suspicion. And now you're here to, what? Gather intelligence? Confirm their suspicions? Or simply distract me while they execute whatever plan they've devised? Julie maintained an impressive poker face. I came to check on my boyfriend. Turns out, he's not here. Albedo studied her, admiring her composure despite himself. What happens now? Will you expose me? Alert the authorities? Ben's family? That depends, Julie said, on what you're planning to do with Ben's life. The question caught Albedo off guard. He'd been focused on securing the Omnitrix, on maintaining his cover, on the immediate tactical advantages of his situation. The longer-term implications of permanently living as Ben Tennyson hadn't fully crystallized. I haven't decided, he admitted. Initially, I merely wanted the Omnitrix. Being Ben Tennyson was incidental to that goal. And now? Albedo considered the question seriously. These past days had been strange, uncomfortable in many ways, yet also revealing. The warmth of the Tennyson household, the admiration of strangers when he was recognized as a hero, even. The simple pleasures of human food and comfortable bedding. It's not unpleasant, he said finally. Being wanted. Having a place. Something in his tone must have revealed more than he intended, because Julie's expression softened marginally. You don't have to be Ben to have those things, she said. You could have your own life. As what? Albedo asked bitterly. A white-haired, red-eyed duplicate? A curiosity? A lesser copy? Azimuth ensured I would never be accepted anywhere, locked in a form engineered to mark me as inferior. So your solution is to steal someone else's life? Julie challenged. That's not going to make you happy either. You'll always be looking over your shoulder, always afraid of being discovered. Albedo hadn't expected a philosophical debate with Ben's human girlfriend, yet her words resonated uncomfortably. The constant performance was indeed exhausting. Every interaction required calculation, every response measured against what Ben might say or do. Where is he? Julie asked again, more gently. Albedo considered lying but found himself strangely reluctant. I don't know his exact location. Hiding, presumably. Planning to reach Azimuth, if he has any sense. And if he does? If he tells Azimuth what happened? Then my time as Ben Tennyson will be brief indeed, Albedo acknowledged. Azimuth would detect the swap immediately and likely has methods to reverse it, despite my earlier claim. Julie studied him, then stood. I should go. Albedo rose as well. You're going to him. To Ben. She didn't deny it. What will you do? Try to stop me? Call the plumbers? No, Albedo said, surprising himself. I won't stop you. Julie's eyes widened slightly. Why not? Albedo wasn't entirely sure himself. Perhaps Ben's biochemistry was affecting his decision-making more than he'd realized. Or perhaps these days of living Ben's life had given him a perspective he'd lacked before. This deception is harder than anticipated, he admitted. And the attacker today concerns me. Their interest in the Omnitrix's quantum signature suggests knowledge that few possess. You think there's something bigger happening, Julie surmised. Possibly. And if so, Ben's allies may be useful. Julie nodded slowly, understanding the unspoken offer. Not friendship, not surrender, but a temporary alignment of interests. I'll tell him, she said simply. But don't expect a warm reception. As she turned to leave with Ship, Albedo called after her, one question. Does it bother you? Knowing you couldn't tell the difference immediately? That I could fool you, even briefly? Julie paused at the door. You didn't fool me. I knew something was wrong from the first moment. I just didn't know what. She glanced back at him. That's the problem with stealing someone's identity, Albedo. The people who really know them will always sense the imposter. She left, closing the door quietly behind her. Albedo stood alone in Ben Tennyson's living room, surrounded by the trappings of a life not his own. For the first time, he wondered if he truly wanted it. Midnight. Kevin's garage glowed with the faint blue light of the ship's engines warming up. Ben hunched over the emulator, making final adjustments before their departure. Should be fully operational now, he said, strapping the device to his wrist. I've added an energy shield based on Echo's sound manipulation and boosted the power output by 30%. Kevin whistled, impressed. You're scary smart like this, you know that. Almost making me miss regular dumb Ben. Thanks. I think. Ben tested the shield function, a translucent blue barrier briefly forming around his body. Gwen entered the garage, closing the door quietly behind her. All set at Plumber HQ. I've filed reports that should keep them busy checking false leads for at least 24 hours. Perfect, Ben nodded. How long to Galvan Prime? With the hyperdrive modifications? Kevin estimated. About 6 hours. We'll be there before breakfast. The garage door opened again, and Julie slipped inside with Ship bobbing beside her. Julie! Ben exclaimed, relief washing over him. You made it. And I bring news, she said. I confronted Albedo. He admitted everything. The others stared in surprise. You did what? Gwen demanded. Julie, that was incredibly dangerous. I had Ship with me, Julie replied calmly. And I had to know for sure. Ship confirmed the brain wave patterns don't match Ben's records. What did he say? Ben asked, approaching her. Is he going to expose us? Actually, he let me leave. Knew I was coming to find you and didn't try to stop me. Julie looked thoughtful. I think he's struggling with being you more than he expected. Ben snorted. Good. I hope it's driving him crazy. There's more, Julie continued. He's concerned about the attacker from today, thinks they're after something specific about the Omnitrix's quantum signature. Kevin and Gwen exchanged looks. That's advanced tech knowledge, Kevin said. Way beyond your standard bounty hunter. Exactly what Albedo said, Julie confirmed. I think he's genuinely worried. Ben considered this. Quantum signature analysis, that's deeper than just wanting to steal or copy the Omnitrix. That's like wanting to understand its fundamental nature. Who would have that kind of interest? Gwen asked. And that level of technology? A terrible suspicion formed in Ben's mind. Malware. The name hung in the air, chilling the atmosphere. That's impossible, Kevin objected. Malware was destroyed. We all saw it. We've thought that before, Ben reminded them grimly. And the corrupted galvanic mechamorph would have exactly the kind of interest in the Omnitrix's quantum properties we're seeing. It's technology he could corrupt, absorb, enhance. Ship chirped nervously, his surface patterns fluctuating. Ship senses something, Julie translated. He says there's been unusual mechamorph energy readings in the area for days. He thought it was just background radiation, but now he's not sure. Ben's borrowed Galvan mind connected dots with frightening speed. If malware has returned and is tracking the Omnitrix, then Albedo is in danger too. He may have my body, but he doesn't have my experience fighting malware. So what? Kevin shrugged. Let malware and Albedo duke it out. Solves both our problems. In my body, with my Omnitrix? Ben shook his head. No way. And if malware gets hold of the Omnitrix in its original form, with access to the quantum signature, the damage could be catastrophic. Gwen sighed. So we're not just going to Galvan Prime to fix your body swap. We're also warning Albedo about a potential malware attack. Exactly, Ben confirmed. Great, Kevin muttered. Our rescue mission just turned into a team-up. With your evil twin. We need to go, Gwen urged, checking the time. The patrol schedule I modified gives us a 20-minute window to launch without being detected. Ben turned to Julie. You should stay here. It's safer. Julie crossed her arms. Not happening. Ship and I are coming. Julie, ship can track mechamorph energy signatures, she pointed out. If malware is involved, you need us. Ben recognized the determined set of her jaw. Fine, but stay close. As they boarded Kevin's modified ship, a cramped but sleek vessel built for speed rather than comfort, Ben felt a strange mix of emotions. They were finally taking action, moving toward a solution to his body swap problem. Yet the possibility of malware's involvement added a dangerous new dimension. The ship hummed to life, its cloaking technology activating as Kevin guided it out of the garage and up into the night sky. Bellwood shrank beneath them, the city lights blurring as they accelerated toward the upper atmosphere. Setting course for Galvan Prime, Kevin announced, fingers dancing across the controls. Hyperdrive engaging in 3, 2, 1. Stars streaked around them as the ship entered hyperspeed, leaving Earth behind. Ben gazed out at the blur of space, feeling both hope and apprehension. They were on their way to Azimuth, who might hold the solution to his problem. But if malware was truly back and targeting the Omnitrix, they might be racing towards something far more dangerous than a simple body swap. Julie's hand found his, Albedo's, and squeezed gently. We'll fix this, she promised. All of it. Ben nodded, grateful for her confidence. Whatever awaited them on Galvan Prime, they would face it together. As Earth vanished behind them, Ben couldn't help wondering what Albedo was doing now, in his body, with his watch, surrounded by his family and friends. Was he maintaining the deception? Planning some new scheme? Or perhaps, as Julie suggested, struggling with the weight of a stolen identity? The answer, whatever it might be, lay 6 hours ahead in the heart of the galaxy, on the technological marvel that was Galvan Prime. Chapter 3, Who We Really Are. Kevin's ship dropped out of hyperspace with a shudder, the streaking stars resolving into pinpoints against the black canvas of space. Ahead, Galvan Prime gleamed like a polished circuit board, its surface a complex network of cities, laboratories, and technological wonders. Whoa, Ben breathed, pressing against the viewport. It looks different with these eyes. Gwen glanced at him. Different how? Sharper. More significant somehow. Ben struggled to explain the sensation. Like I can see the purpose behind every structure, understand the intent of each design element. Galvan brain connecting to Galvan architecture, Kevin suggested, guiding the ship toward the planet's atmosphere. Homeworld recognition or something. Maybe, Ben murmured, unable to tear his gaze from the approaching planet. Despite the circumstances, he felt an unexpected pull, almost like coming home, except this world had never been his home. A communication alert chimed on the console. Kevin activated the receiver, and a stern Galvan voice filled the cabin. Unidentified vessel, you are entering restricted Galvan airspace. Identify yourself and state your purpose immediately. Kevin Levin, Berth Plumber Deputy, Kevin replied officially. Transporting priority passengers for an audience with First Thinker Azimuth. Authorization code Tennyson Victor 71. A pause, then, authorization confirmed. Proceed to landing coordinates being transmitted now. Be advised, any deviation from designated flight path will result in immediate defensive measures. Always so welcoming, Kevin muttered after closing the channel. The ship descended through wisps of clouds toward an enormous domed structure, Azimuth's primary research facility. As they approached, the dome split open like a mechanical iris, revealing a landing platform that extended to receive them. I should warn you, Gwen said to Ben as they prepared to disembark. We only got clearance because I used emergency plumber protocols. They don't know why we're really here. And they might freak out when they see Albedo's face, Kevin added, powering down the engines. Ben nodded grimly. I know. Let me do the talking. Galvin respect intelligence and logical presentation above all else. The landing ramp extended with a hydraulic hiss. Ben stepped out first, followed closely by the others, Julie and Ship bringing up the rear. A delegation of Galvin security personnel awaited them, led by a slightly taller figure Ben recognized as Asmatha's assistant, Zenith. This is unexpected, Zenith stated, her large eyes narrowing as she recognized Ben's borrowed form. Albedo of Galvin is a wanted criminal. Explain his presence immediately. Ben stepped forward, hands raised non-threateningly. I'm not Albedo, at least, not mentally. I'm Ben Tennyson. Our consciousnesses were swapped in an accident involving one of Asmatha's prototype devices. Zenith's expression remained skeptical. A convenient claim with no evidence. The evidence is back on Earth wearing my body and my Omnitrix, Ben replied. We need to see Asmath immediately. It's urgent, and not just because of our situation. First Thinker Asmath is engaged in critical research and has explicitly refused interruptions, Zenith stated flatly. Gwen stepped forward. Then I formally request plumber intervention under Galactic Code Section 12, Paragraph 7, imminent threat to multiple planetary systems. We have reason to believe malware has returned. The name sent visible shock through the Galvin delegation. Security officers chittered among themselves anxiously, while Zenith's composure cracked momentarily. Malware was destroyed, she insisted, though her voice held a trace of uncertainty. Yeah, we thought that the first 2 times too, Kevin remarked. Ship bubbled forward, his surface shifting to display recorded energy signatures. The readings flashed in Galvin script, highlighting pattern similarities to malware's unique corrupted code. Zenith studied the readings, her expression growing grave. These readings are concerning. Follow me. The delegation led them through the facility's sweeping corridors. Unlike human architecture, Galvin structures favored efficiency over aesthetics, yet Ben found a strange beauty in the precision. Each angle, each intersection, each conduit placement served a specific purpose. His borrowed brain mapped their path automatically, calculating their position within the larger complex. They arrived at a sealed laboratory door emblazoned with Galvin security warnings. Zenith pressed her hand to a scanner and spoke rapidly in the Galvin language, too quickly for the others to follow, but Ben understood perfectly. First Thinker, priority visitors with critical information regarding subject malware. Security protocols justified for immediate interruption. The doors slid open, revealing a vast laboratory filled with equipment that would make Earth's most advanced research centers look like children's toys. In the center, standing on a hovering platform, was Asmath, the diminutive gray Galvin whose genius had created the Omnitrix and countless other technological marvels. This had better be important, Asmath grumbled, not looking up from the holographic schematics floating before him. I'm recalibrating the defense grid for, he paused as he finally glanced toward the visitors. His eyes widened at the sight of Albedo leading the group. What is the meaning of this? He demanded, his platform zooming toward them. Asmath, it's me, Ben said quickly. Albedo stole your identity transfer prototype. When we fought, it malfunctioned and swapped our minds. Asmatha's eyes narrowed, studying Ben intensely. Preposterous. The identity transfer device was theoretical, never constructed. Well, someone constructed it, Ben insisted. Because I'm stuck in Albedo's body while he's running around as me with the original Omnitrix. Asmatha's expression shifted from skepticism to alarm. Impossible. That device was never intended for consciousness transfer, it was designed for simple digital identity authentication. Maybe that's what you intended, Gwen interjected, but Albedo modified it somehow. He called it an Omnitrix extractor. Azimuth muttered something in Galvan that made the other Galvan in the room gasp in shock. Sorry, Ben translated for the others, but he just used some words I don't think translate well to English. Show me your eyes, Azimuth commanded suddenly, his platform rising to Ben's eye level. Ben leaned forward, allowing the first thinker to peer directly into his eyes. Azimuth studied them intently, then made a small humming noise. The psychoneurological patterns. Azimuth murmured. They're inconsistent with Albedo's documented patterns. He floated back, stroking his chin thoughtfully. It could be an elaborate deception, but... It's not deception, Julie spoke up. Ship confirmed it. Their energy signatures have been swapped. She nodded to the mechamorph, who chirped in agreement. Azimuth's gaze shifted to Ship, then back to Ben. If what you claim is true, this is a catastrophe of unprecedented proportions. The identity transfer prototype was never completed because it was too dangerous. If Albedo somehow finished it and modified its purpose. Can you reverse it? Ben asked, hope rising in his chest. Azimuth's silence spoke volumes. Azimuth? Ben pressed. The first thinker sighed heavily. Theoretical models suggested that once a complete transfer occurred, the neural pathways would permanently adapt to their new configuration. Attempting to reverse it could cause complete neural collapse. You're saying we're stuck like this? Ben's voice cracked slightly. Forever. Without examining the device Albedo created, I cannot say with absolute certainty, Azimuth replied carefully. But based on first principles, yes, the change appears to be permanent. The words hit Ben like a physical blow. He'd been clinging to hope that Azimuth, the greatest genius in 5 galaxies, would have an easy solution. The reality of his situation crashed down with crushing finality. He was trapped in Albedo's body. Permanently. Gwen placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. There has to be something we can do. I'm sorry, Azimuth said, and for once, the arrogant Galvan seemed genuinely regretful. Neural patterns are not like computer data that can be simply copied and transferred back. Once integrated into a new neural matrix, they adapt, conform, become intrinsically linked to their new environment. Ben struggled to process this. So I'm Albedo forever. And he's me? Physically, yes, Azimuth confirmed. Though your consciousness, your memories, your essential self remains your own. Not much consolation, Ben muttered, looking down at his pale hands, hands that would never again transform with the Omnitrix. A sudden alarm blared throughout the facility, cutting the conversation short. Red warning lights flashed as Galvan security personnel rushed into the laboratory. First thinker, one called out urgently. We're detecting a breach in the planetary defense grid, Sector 7. Azimuth spun toward a control console, fingers flying across holographic controls. Impossible. I personally designed those firewalls. It's malware, Ben said with sudden certainty. That's why we came. Ship detected mechamorph energy signatures on Earth that matched malware's corruption pattern. Azimuth's eyes widened. If malware has returned and breached our defenses, the laboratory's main screen flickered, then displayed a satellite view of Earth. Red corruption lines spread across the image like digital veins, focusing on major technological centers. He's targeting Earth's technology, Azimuth realized aloud. But why now? After all this time? Ben's enhanced Galvan mind made the connection instantly. The Omnitrix. When Albedo and I switched, it created a unique energy signature, like a beacon. Malware must have detected it and realized something changed with the Omnitrix. A quantum fluctuation that would be unmistakable to a being like malware, Azimuth agreed grimly. And now he's moving to exploit it. Exploit how? Kevin demanded. Azimuth manipulated the controls, zooming in on Bellwood. The corruption pattern centered on the plumber base. If my analysis is correct, malware is attempting to create a quantum entanglement between Earth's technology and the Omnitrix itself. If he succeeds, He could corrupt the Omnitrix through Earth's technological infrastructure, Ben finished, horror dawning. And with the original Omnitrix, he could potentially rewrite his core programming, eliminating the corruption that defines his existence. Making him more powerful than ever, Gwen added. We need to warn Albedo, Ben decided. He has no idea what he's up against. Good luck with that, Kevin scoffed. Why would he listen to you? He's got what he wanted, your body, your watch. Because he's not stupid, Ben replied. Arrogant, yes. Evil, maybe. But not stupid. If malware corrupts the Omnitrix while it's attached to his wrist, my wrist, he's done for. Azimuth nodded gravely. Ben is correct. This situation transcends your personal dispute. If malware succeeds, the consequences will be catastrophic, not just for Earth, but potentially for the entire galaxy. Then we need to get back to Earth, Julie urged. Now. Your vessel is too slow, Azimuth stated. The corruption is already spreading. By the time you arrived, it would be too late. He activated a communication channel. Prepare my personal transport for immediate departure to Earth. Priority clearance, full emergency protocols. You're coming with us? Ben asked, surprised. This is my responsibility, Azimuth said grimly. The Omnitrix is my creation. If malware corrupts it. He didn't finish the thought, but his expression conveyed the gravity. Within minutes, they boarded Azimuth's ship, sleek, compact, and exponentially faster than Kevin's vessel. As the engines powered up, Ben stared out at Galvan Prime, a strange sense of loss washing over him. He'd come seeking a solution, only to discover his condition was permanent. Now they were racing back to Earth to confront a threat that made his personal problems seem almost trivial by comparison. I'm sorry, Ben, Gwen said quietly, sitting beside him as the ship lifted off. About what Azimuth said. Ben nodded silently, still processing the implications of his permanent condition. You're still you, she continued. No matter what body you're in. Am I? Ben asked, not meeting her eyes. This brain thinks differently. I solve problems differently, see the world differently. I'm not sure where Ben Tennyson ends. And Albedo begins anymore. The fact that you're worried about it proves you're still Ben, Julie said, joining them. Ship chirped agreement from her lap. The ship accelerated into hyperspace, the journey that had taken 6 hours in Kevin's ship now compressed to less than 30 minutes with Azimuth's technology. As Galvan Prime vanished behind them, Ben turned his thoughts toward the coming confrontation. He would face malware, without the Omnitrix, without alien transformations, without his own body. And somehow, he would need to convince his worst enemy to help save the world. Albedo paced Ben Tennyson's bedroom, anxiety building with each circuit. Something was wrong with the Omnitrix, subtle glitches in the transformation matrix, unexpected power fluctuations, interface errors that appeared and disappeared seemingly at random. He disassembled Ben's desk lamp, using components to build a crude diagnostic tool. The readings only confirmed his suspicions, something external was attempting to interface with the Omnitrix at the quantum level. Impossible, he muttered, running fingers through unfamiliar brown hair. The quantum signature is encrypted with Galvan Prime algorithms that would take centuries to decrypt. Unless the attacker was already familiar with Galvan technology. Unless they had a unique perspective on the Omnitrix's fundamental nature. A chill ran down Albedo's spine as a terrible possibility formed in his mind. His thoughts were interrupted by the Omnitrix suddenly glowing an angry red, its interface distorting with corrupted code. Pain shot up his arm as the device seemed to burn against his skin. What the? Albedo gasped, frantically trying to access the Omnitrix's diagnostics. The holographic display that appeared was riddled with errors, Galvan symbols morphing into unrecognizable glyphs. Outside, car alarms began blaring simultaneously. Through Ben's window, Albedo saw streetlights flickering, then glowing with the same angry red as the Omnitrix. Devices throughout the Tennyson household, the television, computer, even the refrigerator, activated on their own, their displays corrupted with the same pattern. No, Albedo whispered, a name forming in his mind. It can't be. His phone rang, Julie's number. He answered immediately. Something's happening, Julie's voice came through, tension evident. Ship is going crazy. He says there's a massive mechamorph energy surge across the city. Malware, Albedo stated, his suspicion confirmed. He's returned, and he's targeting the Omnitrix through Earth's technological infrastructure. How is that possible? The quantum signature, Albedo explained quickly. When the identity transfer device swapped our consciousnesses, it created a unique energy pattern, like a fingerprint. Malware must have detected it. What does he want? Albedo glanced at the corrupted Omnitrix. To rewrite himself using the original Omnitrix as a template. To eliminate his corrupted nature once and for all. That's good, right? Julie asked tentatively. If he fixes his corruption, no, Albedo cut her off. He won't just fix his corruption, he'll upgrade himself using the Omnitrix's alien database. He'll become a hybrid of every alien species in the catalog, powered by corrupted mechamorph technology. Nothing could stop him. A moment of silence, then, Ben, the real Ben, is trying to reach you. They're back from Galvan Prime with Azimuth. They know about malware. Albedo's breath caught. Azimuth is here. On Earth? Yes. They're at the old steel mill on the east side. They want you to meet them there. Albedo hesitated, suspicion warring with necessity. This could be a trap, a ploy to capture him and force him to surrender Ben's body. Yet if malware truly was behind the corruption spreading through Bellwood's technology, he needed allies. I'll be there, he decided. But Julie, don't tell Ben's parents what's happening. Keep them away from technology if possible. Already on it, Julie assured him. Sandra and Carl think I'm taking Ben to study at the library. I've got them packing for a surprise camping trip my family invited them to. They'll be safely out of town in 20 minutes. Albedo found himself impressed by her quick thinking. Thank you. I'm not doing it for you, Julie said flatly. I'm protecting Ben's family. Of course, Albedo replied. I'll meet you at the steel mill. He ended the call and examined the Omnitrix again. The corruption was spreading, red lines creeping across its surface like veins. If he transformed now, there was no telling how malware's influence might affect the alien DNA. Yet remaining human left him vulnerable. Albedo made his decision. He activated the Omnitrix, selecting Big Chill, an alien whose intangibility might provide some protection against malware's technological corruption. The transformation sequence began normally, green energy washing over Ben's body. Midway through, however, red corruption lines surged through the green energy. Albedo screamed as pain lanced through his changing form. When the transformation completed, he wasn't the blue moth-like necrophrygian he'd selected. Instead, a hybrid creature stood in Ben's bedroom, Big Chill's basic form, but with circuitry-like red lines pulsing across its body. When Albedo exhaled experimentally, instead of freezing mist, corrupted data particles flowed out, digitizing the air they touched. This is unexpected, Albedo murmured, examining his corrupted form. The alien's powers had been altered, warped by malware's influence. Yet he maintained control of his consciousness, his thoughts clear despite the corruption. He phased through Ben's bedroom wall, taking flight over Bellwood. Below, chaos was spreading, cars driving themselves erratically, traffic lights cycling randomly, electronic billboards displaying corrupted images. In the distance, the plumber base's cloaking technology was failing, the underground facility becoming intermittently visible as a massive structure beneath the city. Albedo flew toward the abandoned steel mill, his corrupted Big Chill form leaving trails of digitized reality in his wake. Part of him, the scientific, analytical part, found the phenomenon fascinating. Malware wasn't simply hijacking technology, he was converting matter itself into digitized, programmable substance. The steel mill appeared ahead, a rusting hulk of industrial decay on Bellwood's outskirts. Albedo descended, landing in what once had been the main foundry floor. As his feet touched the ground, the corrupted alien form suddenly destabilized, red energy crackling around him. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest flashed warnings before forcibly reverting him to human form. Albedo collapsed to his knees, gasping as Ben's body returned. "I wouldn't do that again if I were you," a familiar voice called. Albedo looked up to see his own body, Ben in Albedo's form, approaching cautiously, a strange device strapped to his wrist. Behind him came Gwen, Kevin, and Julie with Ship. And most surprisingly, hovering on a small platform, Azimuth himself. Transformation while the Omnitrix is under malware's influence accelerates the corruption, Azimuth explained, his platform bringing him to eye level with Albedo. Each transformation creates new pathways for his code to infiltrate the device. "I assumed as much," Albedo replied, standing shakily. He eyed his former body with a mix of emotions. "I see you found the first thinker. Did he give you the wonderful news about our condition?" Ben's expression tightened. "He did." "Then you know we're permanently fixed in our new forms," Albedo continued, a bitter smile forming on Ben's face. "Ironic, isn't it? You're trapped as me, while we don't have time for this," Azimuth interrupted sharply. "Malware's corruption is spreading exponentially. Within hours, he'll have complete control of Earth's technological infrastructure. Within days, he'll have corrupted enough systems to spread to orbital platforms and from there to other worlds." Albedo's smirk faded. "What is your plan?" "We need to sever his connection to the Omnitrix," Azimuth stated. "It's the anchor point for his corruption, the quantum signature he's using to spread his influence." "And how do you propose to do that?" Albedo demanded. "The connection exists at the quantum level." Ben stepped forward, holding up the device on his wrist. "With this. I call it the emulator. I built it using your brain's knowledge and plumber tech." Albedo studied the crude device with professional curiosity. Impressive improvisation, but hardly sufficient for quantum disruption. "Alone, no," Azimuth agreed. "But combined with Ship's mechamorph abilities and modifications I can make, it could generate a counter-frequency to temporarily disrupt malware's connection." "Temporarily?" Kevin questioned. "That doesn't sound like a solution." "It buys us time to implement the real solution," Azimuth explained. "Which requires both Omnitrix bearers." Albedo and Ben exchanged wary glances. "What exactly does this plan entail?" Albedo asked suspiciously. Azimuth's expression was grave. "Malware is using the quantum entanglement between your swapped consciousnesses as a pathway. To stop him permanently, we need to stabilize that entanglement." "Meaning?" Ben pressed. "Meaning you must both accept your new forms completely," Azimuth stated. "Not just physically, but psychologically. The quantum fluctuation exists because both of you are still psychologically resistant to your new bodies. That resistance creates a vulnerability malware is exploiting." A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. "You want us to, what? Be happy about being stuck like this?" Ben finally asked. "Not happiness," Azimuth corrected. "Acceptance. Complete integration of consciousness with physical form. Once achieved, the quantum fluctuation will stabilize, closing malware's access point." Albedo laughed bitterly. "So not only am I trapped in this human form forever, but I must embrace it wholeheartedly. Rejoice in my imprisonment." "The alternative is malware's success," Azimuth replied simply. "Which, I remind you, would likely result in your destruction along with billions of others." Before anyone could respond, the steel mill's ancient machinery suddenly whirred to life, conveyor belts moving, furnaces igniting, robotic arms twitching. Red corruption spread across metal surfaces like a digital infection. "He's found us," Gwen warned, hands glowing with mana. "We need to move." A deep, distorted laugh echoed throughout the structure. Too late, Gwen Tennyson. The corrupted machinery coalesced, flowing together like liquid metal until it formed a towering figure they all recognized, Malware, his twisted mechamorph form larger and more menacing than ever. Azimuth, Malware's grating voice echoed. How kind of you to join us. And both Tennysons, or should I say, Tennyson and Albedo. Your little identity crisis created quite the opportunity. Malware, Azimuth addressed his failed creation. This path leads only to destruction, yours included. Always the disappointed creator, Malware mocked. But today, I transcend your limitations. The Omnitrix's quantum signature is the key to my perfection. Malware extended a corrupted limb toward Albedo, targeting the Omnitrix. Kevin immediately absorbed metal from a nearby beam, forming his arms into blades and slicing through the approaching tendril. Run! Kevin shouted as more tendrils erupted from Malware's body. The group scattered, taking cover behind equipment as Malware's attack intensified. Gwen erected mana shields, blocking several corruption beams that would have engulfed them. We need time to modify the emulator, Azimuth shouted over the chaos, working frantically on Ben's device. Then we'll give you time, Ben decided. He turned to Albedo. We need to work together on this. Albedo scowled. With you? In my body? Would you rather be destroyed by Malware? Ben challenged. Because those are your options right now. A corrupted beam struck nearby, dissolving metal into digital particles. Albedo flinched, then nodded reluctantly. What's your plan? Distraction, Ben replied. You still have the Omnitrix, corrupted as it is. Limited transformations might buy us time without giving Malware full access. And you? Albedo questioned. Ben held up the emulator. I've got this. Not as good as the Omnitrix, but I've learned to make do. Very well, Albedo agreed. A temporary alliance. They split off in different directions, flanking Malware from opposite sides. Ben activated the emulator, generating a force field just as Malware fired in his direction. Ah, the real Ben Tennyson, Malware taunted, recognizing Ben despite his appearance. How does it feel to be powerless? Trapped in an inferior form? Still good enough to take you down? Ben retorted, firing an energy pulse from the emulator. The blast struck Malware's shoulder, temporarily disrupting his form. On the other side, Albedo carefully activated the Omnitrix, selecting an alien with minimal technological components. Swampfire, he called as transformation energy washed over him. The result was another corrupted hybrid, Swampfire's plant-based body interwoven with circuitry-like patterns. But the primarily organic nature of the alien minimized Malware's influence. Clever, Malware acknowledged. But futile. Corrupted Swampfire launched a barrage of seed pods that exploded on impact, each blast temporarily disrupting Malware's cohesion. Meanwhile, Ben used the emulator's magnetic pulse function to tear metal objects from the walls, launching them at Malware from different angles. Their coordinated attack forced Malware to divide his attention, giving Azimuth, Julie, and Ship the opportunity they needed. Ship, interface with the emulator components, Azimuth instructed, his tiny hands moving with incredible precision across circuits. Ship merged with the device Azimuth was constructing, his mechamorph abilities enhancing and stabilizing the prototype. It's ready, Julie called to Ben. Azimuth needs both you and Albedo. Ben dodged another attack from Malware. Little busy here. I'll cover you, Gwen promised, stepping forward with glowing hands. Kevin, with me. Kevin charged forward, his metal form acting as a conductor for Gwen's mana. The combination created a devastating attack that slammed into Malware, temporarily fragmenting his form. Go! Kevin shouted. We can't hold him long. Ben and Albedo retreated toward Azimuth, both breathing heavily from exertion. Here's what we must do, Azimuth explained quickly. Ship will generate a counter-frequency to temporarily disrupt malware's connection. During that window, you too must stabilize your quantum entanglement. How exactly do we do that? Ben demanded. By accepting your new forms, Azimuth replied. Truly accepting them, not as punishment, not as temporary inconvenience, but as your reality. That's your plan? Albedo scoffed. Psychological acceptance. Quantum mechanics doesn't care about your feelings, Azimuth snapped. But the fluctuation between your consciousness and physical form creates measurable disruption at the quantum level. Resolve that internal conflict, and the disruption ceases. Behind them, Gwen and Kevin's defense began to falter. Malware was reconstituting, growing larger as he absorbed more technology from the surrounding facility. We don't have time to debate, Julie urged. You have to try. Ship merged with Azimuth's device, his body flowing over it and enhancing its components. The combined technology began emitting a pulsing blue energy field. Now! Azimuth commanded. The energy field expanded outward, washing over the entire facility. When it reached malware, his form destabilized, corruption patterns flickering erratically. What is this? Malware roared, his voice distorting. Counter-frequency, Azimuth explained. Temporarily blocking your access to the quantum signature. But it won't last long. Malware staggered, portions of his body pixelating and glitching. I will reconfigure. Ben, Albedo, it's now or never, Azimuth urged. You must complete the stabilization. Ben and Albedo faced each other, the same confrontation they'd had many times before, but now with their physical identities reversed. I don't know how to just accept this, Ben admitted, gesturing to Albedo's body he now inhabited. Neither do I, Albedo replied. Despite certain, unexpected advantages of human form, I never wanted this existence. Around them, the counter-frequency began to weaken. Malware's form was already beginning to reconstitute, his roar of rage echoing through the facility. Try something simpler, Julie suggested urgently. Instead of accepting everything at once, start with one thing. One truth about your new existence that you can embrace. Ben looked down at his pale hands, Albedo's hands, considering. The intelligence, he said finally. Having this brain has let me understand things I never could before. Build things I never could before. He glanced at the emulator. I've helped people in ways I couldn't have without it. Albedo nodded slowly. The connections, he admitted. Human social bonds. Your family's affection. The way Julie looks at you. Even your cousin's loyalty. These experiences were not unpleasant. As they spoke, something shifted in the energy field surrounding them. The blue pulse stabilized slightly, pushing back malware's corruption more effectively. It's working, Azimuth observed. Continue. Ben took a deep breath. I've always defined myself by the Omnitrix, being a hero, saving people. But these past days, I've still tried to help people without it. Still made a difference. Maybe being a hero isn't about the watch after all. I defined myself by my brilliance, Albedo continued. By my superiority. Yet in your body, experiencing your life, I've discovered other forms of value. Connection. Purpose. Belonging. He looked at Ben directly. You are fortunate in ways I never recognized. The energy field surged stronger, more stable. Malware howled in rage as his connection weakened further. You're almost there, Azimuth urged. Complete acceptance. Ben looked at his reflection in a broken piece of glass, Albedo's face, white hair, red eyes. For days he'd seen it as a prison, a temporary problem to solve. Now he forced himself to see it differently, not as Albedo's face, but as his face. His new reality. This is who I am now, he said firmly. Not Ben Tennyson, the kid with the Omnitrix. Just Ben. And I'll find my own way forward. Albedo touched the Omnitrix on his wrist, Ben's wrist now. And I am no longer merely Albedo of the Galvan. This form, this life, it is mine now. My responsibility. The quantum field flashed brilliantly as the entanglement stabilized. A shockwave of blue energy exploded outward, slamming into malware with devastating force. No. Malware screamed as his connection to the Omnitrix's quantum signature was severed completely. His form began to collapse, corruption patterns failing without their anchor point. It worked. Gwen exclaimed. But their celebration was premature. Malware, though weakened, was far from defeated. His form contracted, becoming more dense and focused. You've closed one path, he snarled. But not all. He lunged forward with shocking speed, targeting Albedo and the Omnitrix directly. His corrupted claw stretched out, fingertips inches from the device. Ben reacted instinctively, diving between malware and Albedo. He raised the emulator, channeling all its remaining power into a single defensive blast. The resulting collision of energies threw everyone backward. When the dust settled, malware's form had been blasted apart, fragments of corrupted mechamorph scattered across the facility floor. Is he destroyed? Kevin asked cautiously. Not destroyed, Azimuth answered, studying the fragments. But severely fragmented. Without the quantum signature to stabilize his corruption, he cannot maintain cohesion. The fragments twitched and attempted to reunite, but fell apart again immediately. Ship approached cautiously, scanning the pieces. Ship says malware's core programming is intact but isolated, Julie translated. The fragments can't recombine without an external energy source. Then we need to contain them before he finds one, Ben decided. He turned to Albedo. The Omnitrix, is it still corrupted? Albedo examined the device, now free of red corruption lines. It appears to have reset itself once the quantum connection stabilized. It should function normally now. Good, Ben nodded. Then use it. Contain the fragments before they can escape. Albedo activated the Omnitrix, transforming into goop, the polymorph's fluid body perfect for collecting scattered pieces. Without the corruption influence, the transformation was clean and complete. Fascinating, Goop commented in Albedo's precise manner of speaking. I can feel each fragment attempting to corrupt my matrix, but without the quantum connection, they cannot gain purchase. Albedo efficiently collected every piece of malware, his acidic body neutralizing their remaining corruption energy. When all fragments were contained, Azimuth produced a specialized containment unit from his platform. This will hold him securely, the first thinker stated. I'll return him to Galvan Prime for permanent containment. Albedo reverted to human form after depositing the neutralized fragments into the container. For a moment, everyone stood in exhausted silence, the reality of what had happened, and what had changed, settling over them. So, Ben finally said, looking at Albedo. We're stuck like this. For good. Albedo nodded slowly. It appears so. And you're okay with that? Gwen asked carefully. Both of you? Ben and Albedo exchanged glances. I wouldn't say, okay, Ben admitted. But what we said during the stabilization wasn't just talk. I meant it. This is who I am now. As did I, Albedo confirmed. Though the transition will not be simple for either of us. Azimuth cleared his throat. While your physical forms are indeed permanently exchanged, your lives need not be. Ben Tennyson's identity, his family, his position with the plumbers, his public persona, these are separate matters from his physical appearance. What are you suggesting? Ben asked cautiously. That you have choices, Azimuth replied. You could reclaim your identity while keeping your new physical form. Explain the situation to the authorities, your family. Or we could both start fresh, Albedo finished. Each with new identities based on our current forms. The group fell silent as they considered the implications. What will you do? Julie finally asked, looking between them. Ben sighed, running a hand through white hair. I don't know yet. Going back to my family, trying to explain all this, it would be complicated. But there's still my family. And the Omnitrix? Kevin questioned, nodding toward the device on Albedo's wrist. Does it stay with him now? All eyes turned to Asmith, who stroked his chin thoughtfully. The Omnitrix was calibrated to Ben Tennyson's DNA, the first thinker noted. It remains so, though that DNA now belongs to Albedo's consciousness. From a purely technical standpoint, it is functioning as intended. That doesn't answer the question, Gwen pointed out. Asmith sighed. No, it doesn't. This situation has no precedent. The decision ultimately rests with the two individuals most affected. He looked between Ben and Albedo. Though I would remind both of you that the Omnitrix is more than a weapon or a tool, it is a responsibility. Ben nodded slowly, then turned to Albedo. You have it now. My body, my watch. What will you do with them? Albedo examined the Omnitrix thoughtfully. For days, he'd reveled in possessing the original device, in having Ben's human form instead of a derivative copy. Yet the experience had changed him in ways he hadn't anticipated. I don't know, he admitted finally. I've wanted the Omnitrix for so long, defined my existence by its acquisition. Now that I have it. He trailed off, then looked up at Ben. What would you do, if our situations were reversed? Ben considered the question seriously. I'd like to say I'd give it back without hesitation, but honestly, I don't know either. He glanced at the emulator on his wrist. I've spent so long being the kid with the watch that I'm not sure who I am without it. Perhaps that's the point, Asmith interjected. Perhaps both of you need to discover who you truly are, separate from the identities you've constructed around the Omnitrix. A contemplative silence fell over the group. Outside, the sounds of normality were returning to Bellwood as Malware's corruption receded from the city's technology. We don't have to decide everything right now, Julie suggested gently. Maybe you both need time to adjust, to think about what comes next. Ben nodded gratefully. She's right. We just saved the world, again. We've earned a breather before making life-altering decisions. Agreed, Albedo said, surprising everyone. Though certain practical matters must be addressed immediately. Your family believes you are at the library studying. They will expect your return. Right, Ben sighed. And the plumbers still think you're, a dangerous criminal. Asmitha's platform rose slightly. I will address the plumber situation. My verification of your identity should resolve the immediate legal concerns, though the longer-term implications will require further discussion. One problem at a time, Gwen suggested. As the group prepared to leave the facility, Ben approached Albedo privately. Whatever happens next, he said quietly, thank you. For helping stop malware. Albedo seemed uncomfortable with the gratitude. It was simple self-preservation. Maybe, Ben acknowledged. But you could have tried to find another solution on your own. You didn't. Albedo studied him for a moment. Perhaps I'm learning that some problems cannot be solved alone. He hesitated, then added, your methods, while often chaotic and illogical, have a certain effectiveness I had not previously recognized. Ben grinned. That might be the closest thing to a compliment you've ever given me. Don't become accustomed to it, Albedo replied, though without the usual venom. As they rejoined the others, Ben realized that while his body might never be his again, his sense of self remained intact. He'd faced losing the Omnitrix before, adjusted to strange alien forms countless times. This was just another transformation, one without a time limit. The sun was setting over Bellwood as they left the steel mill behind, casting long shadows across the landscape. For Ben and Albedo, those shadows represented their former selves, identities they would need to release to move forward. What exactly came next, neither could say with certainty. But for the first time since their fateful encounter on that rooftop, both felt something resembling peace with their situation. Not an ending, but a transformation. And for Ben Tennyson, transformation had always been just the beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.